bodies are still coming out. Unfortunately, there are some people that have been rescued, but authorities say that there might be hundreds of people that are still to be rescued, and they are there. There are a lot of challenges in terms of locating them right now because there is a lot of debris and sediment that has collected. And also, we should remember that yesterday's flood also sort of created a lake in the Himalayan part, which could also break out, and authorities are mindful of
The
that.
Times has a live page running continuously on thetimes.com, updating with information from Nepal. The head of Nepal's Disaster Management Centre says the flash floods there were like a tsunami from the sky and that villages have been completely wiped out. At least 165 people have died so far, but many more are likely to have been killed. 33 British citizens are among the thousands so far unaccounted for. Work to verify the whereabouts and safety status of tourists travelling through the affected region is still going on. Well, we can speak now to Aftab Ahmed, Reuters chief Asia correspondent for politics. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I hope you are. Can you give us the latest there at what's going on at the moment?
So, I mean, it's quite a terrible disaster that a developing country like Nepal is inundated with. Right now, about 1,500 people are missing, including about 800 tourists, like you said, from various countries, including the UK, US, India, Australia, and New Zealand. There is rescue operation ongoing. There are helicopters that are being deployed. Helicopters are also dropping emergency supplies, from medicines to food to tents, etc. The bodies are still coming out. Unfortunately, there are some people that have been rescued, but authorities say that there might be hundreds of people that are still to be rescued, and they are there. There are a lot of challenges in terms of locating them right now because there is a lot of debris and sediment that has collected. And also, we should remember that yesterday's flood also sort of created a lake in the Himalayan part, which could also break out, and authorities are mindful of that, and hopefully they get enough time before that happens.
Aftab, have we had any more explanation as to how this happened and whether there was any warning at all for people in that area?
So as far as people that we have spoken to, there was no warning at all. What we understand from looking at satellite imageries is that there is a part of the glacier at 5,200 meters above sea level broke out and crashed into the valley at 1,200 meters. And that triggered the floods and the collapse of a lot of debris and sediment into the living villages, living areas and villages and districts. So a total of about 7 districts have been impacted on the Nepalese side. There is a lot of impact on the Tibetan side, on the Chinese side as well. But information is a little thin from that side. From the Nepalese side, we understand the death toll has increased to 165, and unfortunately, that is expected to rise. So far in hospitals, the condition is that they're able to handle the amount of injured people that are being brought in, but they say this is a small part of what injured people we might see in the coming days. Entire, like you said earlier, that entire villages have been wiped out in that area. And there are tourists who have been unaccounted for. Only about, I think, a handful of 25 tourists have been recovered so far, but the search and rescue missions are still ongoing. Nepal is receiving a lot of support from other countries like India, US, and UN as well have sent supplies to them to help them out. But it is a big challenge, especially for a government which is just 5 months old, uh, 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 and has members who are very young, and probably this is the first time they would be administratively handling something like this. So it is a big test for them as well.
And for the international community, who, as you say, are sending as much support as possible. Aftab Ahmed, thank you very much for joining us to explain the situation there in Nepal.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It is awful in Nepal, and more updates on Times Radio throughout the day, and as well at thetimes.com for you, where you can see the pictures of the absolute devastation caused by that flash flooding.
Really horrifying CCTV images of the flash floods. It looks something closer to that of a tsunami. Whole buildings, bridges, buses, cars engulfed in a ferocious wall of water, ice and debris swept through the Tibetan side of Bote Koshi River at about 8:30 local time this morning. 33 British citizens, including a 13-year-old girl and 2 Irish nationals, are among hundreds of travellers so far reported missing. At least 160 people have so far been confirmed to have died. Let's speak to Sarah DeYoung from the Disaster Research Centre at the University of Delaware. Good evening, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. We've been hearing then these horrifying numbers of those missing and confirmed killed. One has to presume that those numbers, as the search continues, is likely to rise.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, speaking with some of my colleagues and peers in the area, the anticipation is that toll is certainly going to go up, and unfortunately, perhaps into the thousands rather than just the hundreds of folks who have been killed in this event.
Was the scale of this tragedy entirely unexpected? Any indication that there was a risk of this happening? With the annual monsoons, there's always the risk of localized flooding, but there was a catastrophic flooding event in Malamchi not long ago, and it seems that officials wanted to develop an early warning system, but it's unclear if that was in place now here, especially at the border. This is a huge event, catastrophic event with 5 districts impacted, and so the human toll here is likely to just be again catastrophic in scale. What are the conditions that can lead to such a torrent of water? It's not necessarily just down to heavy rain at that time. Yeah, there were some conflicting reports about the origin of the physical hazard. At first, there were reports of a potential avalanche, or even a minor earthquake causing, an unsettling of the ground here. But ultimately, the major impact here and the result that we're seeing is people settled along a river and with a dense populated area. Again, this is impacting 5 major districts, and people that not only live along the river, they work, they do their grocery shopping. There are schools along the river, hospitals, every type of structure along this river that's densely populated because of hydropower. This is a major trade route area between Nepal and Tibet, and so that's why it's so heavily populated in that region. And when you have this combination of a hazard event in this densely populated area, that's when you see such a high fatality rate, unfortunately. Yeah, and the destruction of that infrastructure and the roads, the routes around it, that must hinder the rescue efforts as well, presumably. Absolutely. This mirrors some of the findings that we came across when we were collecting data. I've been doing work in Nepal now for a while. I was there and deployed to the research team after the Gorkha earthquake in 2015, and it was a very similar situation in terms of just a hindrance of the relief and rescue and response efforts because so many of the roads are going to be cut off due to this extreme flooding landslide event. And, that makes it a lot harder for people to reach those who are survivors and who are going to be in urgent need of, food, medicine, and shelter at this time. And that's just going to make it much more difficult for the recovery process. Do the authorities have the resources they need? Are there, are the international countries lending support? Do they have the equipment they need? Yeah, and so an event like this, the scale and scope is still unfolding, but we have seen countries reaching out, like the Indian government reached out to the current prime minister, indicating, that there would be as much support as possible in Nepal. So there's definitely going to be some inter-country responses, likely, from other contiguous countries deploying support, similar to what happened with the 2015 Gorkha earthquake. Because when you have a catastrophic disaster like this, usually the local resources and even sometimes the national government can be initially inundated and overwhelmed in terms of just the scope and scale of the needs at the time. All right, Sarah, thank you very much for what you could tell us on that
tragedy that's happening in Nepal, and we'll keep a close eye, and any extra news that comes out of that tonight will bring further updates. But Sarah, thank you very much. That's Sarah DeYoung from the Disaster Research Centre at the University of Delaware.